world changes soon. Can get a doobie on a plane, but there's Uzis in our schools. Every dude who touched a boob or a booty getting me too. What you expect from the kids who went to Hooters after school? We're all triggered and defensive. We're all racist and we're sexist. We all grew up watching South Park. How are we offended?
Welcome to the Red Pill Sports Entertainment Show. I am your host, Albert Apache, and as usual, brought to you by Open Source Self-Defense, Fitness, and Grappling. Okay, guys, once again, please forgive any background noise as I am enjoying the outdoors once again in this beautiful Valley of the Sun. So, NFL Draft was just started last night, and we have some winners and some losers in the first round. So let me start with the very first winner of the draft, and that would be the New England Patriots. What can you say, guys? The New England Patriots, they played the game extremely well. They did exactly what they should have done. They were patient. They waited. They knew that most likely quarterbacks were going to fall, as they generally do. And I think Bill Belichick got the quarterback that he wanted out of this draft. He got Mac Jones. Now, I know there's some knocks on Mac Jones here and there about arm strength and just about how much he really contributed and how much was that he was playing with essentially an all-star team. That being said, I think that speaks to his leadership. You know, it's really hard to lead a team as it is, but when you're the least athletic guy on an all-star team, but you're called to be the leader, that really speaks to your leadership skills. So I think Mac Jones will do fine. A lot of people are saying that this is a loss for Cam Newton. I don't believe that. I believe this is going to work out for Cam Newton as well. And the reason why I say that is that Bill Belichick, he's a very good coach, and he always puts his team and his players and the long term ahead of short term returns, right? He's always looking at the return on investment long term, not the return on investment short term. So because of that, he will do what's best for the team, and that will be what's best for the development of Mac Jones, which means that Mac Jones will not be pressured to start immediately. Also, getting him where they got him in the draft, outside of the top 10, also means that they're getting him on a less expensive contract than, let's say, the Niners are going to be paying Trey Lance. So it really, really was a great pick, and I don't know how anybody can say that the Patriots weren't the biggest winners in the first round of the draft. All right, guys, that moves us on to the New York Jets and their first round pick. At first, I was a little worried. It seemed like they were going back to doing the same old Jets, picking a quarterback. Well, thankfully, not only did they get a good quarterback, a quarterback that has tremendous upside, Zach Wilson, but they also got Elijah Bera-Tucker to help ensure that he stays on his feet and isn't eating a ton of grass. So, wow, amazing job by the Jets. Looks like they've really turned a page and that they are going to have a much better culture. I'm going to say this from the beginning. I believe that Robert Saleh is in fact overrated. I've made videos talking about how I believe that Robert Saleh has flown under the radar as far as taking blame for the Super Bowl loss against the Chiefs with the Niners. I feel like his offense gave him a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter with less than 5 minutes left on the clock, and his defense ineffectiveness directly led to the Niners losing that game. The reality is that Jimmy Garoppolo should have never been put in that position. Okay, the Niners offense should have never been asked to have to score a touchdown to win with a 10-point lead and less than 5 minutes left on the clock. So I believe that Robert Saleh very many times has skated under the radar for blame when it comes to the times that the 49ers did not perform and when they underachieved. Many, many times it was because of the defense. It was because the defense did not perform. So that's what I think about Robert Saleh. That being said, I think the Jets really were the number 2 winner in this first round, and Robert Saleh will benefit from the draft. Okay, it will only benefit his case here. Next, the next big winners were the Jags. They were able to get, of course, Trevor Lawrence. I think everybody knew they were going to take Trevor Lawrence. It wasn't really a huge secret. That being said, I don't think they thought they were going to go out and get Travis Etienne, right? I don't think anybody saw that. I don't think anybody saw that they were going to maneuver a way to basically keep that band together and give him a security blanket. Now, here's the thing. I think that Jacksonville would be very, very smart to keep a power running back on the roster and use Travis more like the way Reggie Bush was used at New Orleans. I think that's the best way to use Travis in this case. And it will also be a great safety check valve for Trevor Lawrence. That's my personal opinion. I think it'll help keep pressure off of him. So let's move on to the biggest losers of this draft. The biggest losers were the San Francisco 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo. Here it is, guys. Here is my opinion on what transpired. The San Francisco 49ers moved up to number 3 without any idea who they were going to take with that draft pick. I do believe they were initially looking at Mac Jones and then moved off of Mac Jones because of his similarities to Jimmy Garoppolo. I think that they went to Trey Lance because Trey Lance is the yin to Jimmy G's yang, right? I think that their games are opposite of each other. This is why I think San Francisco lost, even though I think Trey Lance is an amazing prospect. I really think he should have been taken more around the space that Mac Jones was taken. I think he's less polished. I think he's an amazing athlete, but I still think that he's less polished. He struggles with accuracy at times, and therefore, he's going to have to sit behind somebody. Also, the type of offense that you will run with Trey Lance is a completely different style of offense because he's a completely different style of quarterback than Jimmy G. So all in all, because they really didn't make up their mind about what they were doing going into the draft, for that reason, I feel like the Niners were the biggest losers in this draft. They were the biggest losers. I just think that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. They're going to have a hard time keeping Jimmy G on the roster. If he performs well, if they did, because I really see that they're going to probably keep Jimmy G on and then have Trey Lance mature behind him. I don't think you have as stacked a team as you have in San Francisco, knowing that you can make a playoff run, knowing what your division is like as far as strength, and you throw a rookie quarterback back there. Okay? I don't think they do that. I think we're going to see more of a Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes situation. The problem is that I don't think that those two types of offenses are going to mesh. I don't think that the type of offense that suits Jimmy G is necessarily the best kind of offense to suit Trey Lance. And I don't think that Trey Lance, is anywhere near as accurate as Patrick Mahomes. So I really feel like the Niners were a huge loser here. Next, the next biggest loser is the Falcons. Now, let me be clear. It's not because I think Kyle Pitts is a bad player or a bad choice. I just think it's not what they needed. Essentially, it's like a team, or let's say a plumber that has, 50 pipe wrenches and he needs a new hammer. And then he goes and he finds another variation of pipe wrench, and that's what he buys. It doesn't mean that the pipe wrench is bad. So in this case, it doesn't mean that Kyle Pitts is a bad player. It means that the Falcons didn't address issues on their team that needed addressing more so than on the offense. Their defense needed to be addressed. Now, if they felt that at their slot, they weren't going to get value that they needed at that position, they should have traded out. They should have traded down. Because I am willing to bet you dollars to donuts, had they told the Dallas Cowboys, hey, we're looking at Kyle Pitts, and if we draft Kyle Pitts, will you trade us the number 10 pick? They would have gone for it. The Cowboys would have taken Kyle Pitts, even though I don't think that's who they should have gone after, but they would have done that. So for that reason, I think that the Falcons were huge losers here. They're going to be exactly in the same position that they were last year. They're going to have to try and somehow address their defense through the rest of the draft and possibly through free agency. Okay, next. The next biggest loser was the Dallas Cowboys. My Dallas Cowboys, America's team, were huge losers in this first day of the draft. Let me explain to you why. Okay, number one, the two players that they probably really wanted, Sewell and Pitts, both went off the board. They didn't have a contingency plan if their 1A and 1B picks went off the board. They didn't have a contingency plan. I think Patrick Surtain, they kind of thought maybe that's who they would take at number 10, and he got scooped up right before they could pick, and they just did not have a contingency in place. This is the draft. You have to have a contingency for your draft position. And when you have a contingency, you have to have like a 1A to about a 1D, maybe even a 1E, particularly if you are in that 1st through 15th pick. They didn't have that. They traded down to 12. They got a little bit extra value for trading down to 12, but either way, they traded down, and then they took Micah Parsons, the linebacker, out of Penn. Now, look, it's not that Micah is a bad player, okay? I'm not saying he's a bad player. But what I am saying is that this guy did not play last year. He did not play last year, and you're basing everything, you're basing a 12th round or 12th overall pick on game film, which is over a year old. I really feel like they could have got, if that's really where they wanted to be, they could have traded out of the 12 and got Micah much, much later in the draft. I really believe that. So all in all, I feel like if Dallas was going to trade down, they should have traded way down and then addressed their defense or their offensive line. I still feel like they could have traded down and went after somebody on the offensive line, like Elijah Bera-Tucker. They could have traded down a little bit lower and taken him, and that would have been the best idea. I've said it, and I've said it ever since the Dak Prescott signing, and I'll continue to say it. Here's the reality. You just pushed all your chips into the middle of the table with Dak Prescott. You have to go all in on your offense. The biggest Achilles heel the Dallas Cowboys offense has had is protecting the quarterback. And this is going all the way back to Tony Romo. Their biggest Achilles heel is keeping that offensive line healthy. They get on a roll, they start to find a rhythm, and then they lose a center, or they lose a guard, or they lose a tackle, and then they're shuffling people around trying to shore it up. They really should have addressed the offensive line. Now, that's why I thought they were salivating for Kyle Pitts, is because he kind of fills kind of both niches, right? He's an offensive lineman, technically tight end, and he also is a pass catcher, something that would fire up, JJ. So, I really felt like they were looking at Pitts if they could get him. That being said, they should have been, from the very get-go, looking offensive line. I mean, what you just paid Dak, what you just guaranteed Dak, you need to protect that investment. Now, I still think Dak is overpaid. I still think they overpaid for Dak. I still think they gave up all of the leverage. And the fact that Mac Jones fell all the way to the Patriots is just testament to that fact. The Cowboys could have picked up an amazing young quarterback had they just stuck to their guns. They could have re-signed the Red Rifle, picked up a young quarterback, and that would have completely put the pressure on Dak. Because where's Dak going to go? Who's going to give Dak the kind of money that Dak was asking for? He would have come back, and if they'd allowed him to test the waters as a restricted free agent, he would have come back to the Cowboys, and they would have got him for a much cheaper deal. Much cheaper deal. But that's what I got, guys. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Come on, it's the NFL draft. I know you all can't agree with me on every single winner and loser I put out. Let's see what the rest of the day holds. Hopefully, we get some fun movement. All right, guys, that's what I got. Remember, be practical, be purposeful, get fit with a purpose, guys.
Okay, fine. Pass me the brush and I'll paint my face to the shades right. Let's talk about abortion. Sorry, tell me how this works. Bacteria is life on Mars, but a heartbeat isn't life on Earth? Weird.